In this video, we're going to be breaking down the design of this really simple DIY canopy that was put together by John. And this entire thing is made out of EMT conduit and maker pipe fittings. And if you're unfamiliar with those materials, EMT conduit is a galvanized steel tubing that you can get off the shelf at different hardware and home improvement stores. We like to get it at a Do It Best or True Value hardware store if you've got one of those close by, but you can get it virtually any hardware home improvement store that has an electrical aisle. But essentially, this whole thing, like I said, is made with EMT and then also maker pipe fittings, as you can see there. That's the steel connectors that are holding the main parts of this frame together. And you can get those online at makerpipe.com, and we ship those all over the country, and they're made so you can build projects like this really easily. And we'll kind of highlight some of those things along the way. But essentially, this frame is just one large rectangle that is attached to the house and then attached to the deck railing down here, as you can see. So we'll kind of start with the main part of the frame, which is this two-dimensional rectangle. And two-dimensional rectangles are really simple to build with conduit and connectors because you just have these four pieces of conduit that you're joining together, and just like that. Now, and if you're doing a three-dimensional rectangle or a cube, then you want to use the 90-degree fitting. That's how you make, like a garden structure around your garden beds. But if you're just doing a two-dimensional kind of rectangular frame, then that's when you would use the maker pipe T connector, which allows you to join two pieces of conduit together. You just use those T connectors at the end, kind of flush with the end of the conduit to make that 90-degree elbow. And essentially, you're just going to use four of those in the corners, well, just one per corner for four total. And that's how you make a really simple two-dimensional rectangle. And then from there, we can see it looks like John used a couple more T connectors to grab onto the horizontal bar and essentially just add some cross supports that go from one side of the frame to the other. And they pretty much function the same way as the outer pipes do, where you just grab onto that horizontal bar and then send the piece of conduit to the other side. Nice and simple to do, and that was a smart thing to do to just kind of support the sunshade there in the middle. And then essentially that's pretty much the main part of the frame. Now I think I did see in one of the photos here, it looks like that the dimension of this is going to be longer than 10 foot. So if that's the case, then you'll want to use the coupling to kind of extend the width or the depth of this framework, or any framework for that matter. And that coupling just joins those two pieces of conduit kind of end to end to extend the span. Whenever you do that, you want to make sure that you brace it accordingly though. You don't want to just extend that forever and not have any supports. But that's where we can see that he added, there's a shot of the corner where you can see that T connector up close being used as an elbow there, just to make that 90-degree corner connection for this rectangle. But then essentially there's two angled supports that are attaching this to the deck rails over here. And this is really simply done using, you guessed it, two more T connectors that are grabbing on to the horizontal span up there, and then that piece of conduit is going down. And then here at the bottom, he's using the adjustable angle flange from MakerPipe, which allows you to kind of create angles and still attach it to your flat surface, as we can see here that he did. So he's got two of those supports in this framework, securing the rectangle to the deck railing, as you can see there. There's a close-up shot of it. And then here's another close-up shot of a corner where you can see the T connector. And then the other side of the frame is mounted to the side of the house. And this was a really clever technique where essentially you'll be able to hinge this shade to adjust it if need be. And the way he's doing that is just using a eye hook that's going into the side of the house, as you can see here. So if you just get an eye hook that has a large enough opening for a piece of 3/4 inch EMT conduit to sit inside of it, then you can create a hinge. And we've talked about that solution on the channel before. I'll link a video down below so you can check that out if you're interested. But essentially, that's pretty much the main part of the frame, or kind of the whole frame put together, where you've got the main rectangular, two-dimensional rectangle there secured to the deck rails with these two pieces of conduit going down to the railing, and then the adjustable angle flanges, securing those in place. And then we've got I'd say probably 4 or 5 eye hooks on the side of the house to secure that side to the house there, as you can see. And that's nice and simple, a really great job. And if you're unfamiliar with cutting EMT conduit, you can do that with a handheld pipe and tube cutter, and you can customize dimensions of frames exactly how you need it. You could cut this angled bar in half if you wanted this to sit lower, or do a telescoping solution there if you want this to be completely adjustable. So a lot of cool possibilities, and that's kind of the whole idea of building with EMT conduit and connectors. You can do that really simply and make custom frames without having to do any welding or use any power tools or anything. So that's pretty much the main part of the frame. And then lastly, we can see that he's using a sunshade material that has grommets in it. And then so he just used some classic nylon zip ties to secure the sunshade and pull it tight to the frame, as you can see there. And you can also use something like ball bungees. Those are a great solution and they work really well for projects like this. And I highly recommend those if you need to be able to take down the canopy quickly. But here it is, all in place, and just looks fantastic and pretty simple overall. Just a lot of T connectors, and then we saw the couplings for extending that dimension, and then of course the adjustable angle flanges to mount this to the deck rail. But all in all, not too complicated and something that could be easily recreated for whatever patio or deck that you're building on. So really cool, John. Thanks so much for sharing this. Hope you guys found this useful. If you did, leave a like and consider subscribing. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.